What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Damsel in Flight here. If you're new, welcome to my channel. I hope you stay. You're always welcome. This is part 2 to the Insta 360 dive case series, and today I'm going to ruminate about what kind of accessories I would include if I was able to make a kayak kit for the Insta 360 X3 camera. Throughout the video, I'll go through some safety considerations as well, and at the end, I'll give you some tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the past few weeks of using the camera with the case. Part 1 is linked down below. Please check that out. I talk about the differences between both of these cases, and also I have a nice little montage of the differences between them and what it looks like to use the cases above water and the camera above water on a kayak. So yes, anyways, hope you stay tuned and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the cases first. If I were able to make my own kayak kit for the Insta 360, I would redesign the case. And I'm sorry, Insta 360, for saying that. Please forgive me, but it's the truth. I felt like this case was better in direct sunlight above water versus this. For a kayak kit, you need a lens that is better above water versus below water. Would I like for it to do both? 100%, because I've gotten some amazing underwater shots too. Well, half above water, half underwater shots that were incredible. But for my application, I would prefer it to be better above water and handle direct sunlight or lower sunlight better. The other thing is to make it a little bit more scratch resistant and scratch proof. It's really not that bad, and minor scratches don't particularly show up on the images, but when something major does happen like this, and somewhat like this, if you can see, it does really get in the way of things. This one was the fault of the mount that I had, so that's that. But I think just in general, in a perfect world, just completely scratch resistant. I liked the rubber on this case here because of the deflection of the paddle, or the potential of the deflection of the paddle here. So if I was following through, it would kind of deflect my paddle away so I don't scratch the lens, versus here there's not much bounce back deflection away from the lens. But yeah, okay, I think that's it for the cases. Let's move on to mounts. In my kayak kit, I would have a pump suction cup that is much more low profile and have an invisible pump as well, so it'd be a little bit more inward. And I would have the suction cup being a little bit bigger than this and a little smaller than this, so I can get into the narrower parts of my kayak. And I would try to make any of these mechanisms a little bit more face friendly in case a face were to come next to it. Maybe it would not hurt as much, like maybe rubberize it or some sort of just not need them at all. Here's my reasoning for a suction cup. If you have a permanent fixture on your boat and you have to do a rescue, it could get in the way of a rescue, either a self-rescue or a tea rescue of another friend, or your own tea rescue, or even a roll. If you had like the selfie stick attached to it, imagine, and this thing is permanent on your boat and you have to do a self-rescue, like, what do? I would personally rather just take this thing and put it onto the side of the boat, know it's there, and I'd be able to get into my boat. If I had to put somebody's boat across my lap to save them and get them back into their boat, I would value their well-being over my camera, and this is another reason why I think the dive piece is really important for kayaking specifically. You can have this kicked off at the side of your boat, and while you're doing the rescue, this is floating. I would tell the person in the water just to be careful of it if they can. And then doing the rescue on the opposite side, so you can try to eliminate anyone getting hurt or getting caught up on that as well. Just let your friend know that it's there and just to be careful so they don't get a camera in their face. But when something is in the water moving next to the boat, it's a little bit better than having something solid, because if a face were to go onto that, that could really injure somebody pretty badly, you know? This going into somebody's eye isn't so bad, but imagine this in like 5-foot swell. Not great, no matter what it is. Like, you could really like bruise an eye socket with this, and with these little things here. So yes, a low profile suction cup mount would be my choice. Tethers. If they could find or include a really nice fishing line that is super strong but flexible, that would be great, because this is practically see-through. Then you can go to the store and you can buy this yourself, obviously, but it would be a nice touch in a kayak kit to like provide the tethers. It could be risky also, so you know. But yeah, definitely this, or even cordage like I have here, this really thin paracord. I would include that. What I would definitely include though are rust-proof carabiners, 100%. I like the small carabiners because they kind of stay out of the way as well. Less likely to get caught up on anything and out of the way of other safety equipment or other things that are happening around you. Plus, it's a little bit more invisible. Yeah, so I wouldn't, if not a tether, then definitely the carabiner. Now, it's important to double tether things because you never know. I would certainly keep a tether place on the case itself, and then on the mount, I would make sure that there was a notable place for another tether. So you can double tether. Put this on your deck line if you are thinking about doing this already, and if you haven't and you are going to, definitely put this on your deck line, not your bungees. Again, for safety reasons, because if it's on the bungees and something goes on in the water and it's floating next to you, like, it could bounce off that bungee and come straight up like a little boomerang. So yeah, deck lines. I also took care to make sure that the lines were out of the way here and kind of fed through the back, as well as this one. Okay, selfie sticks. The one that comes with the dive kit is great, and I wouldn't change much about it. However, I would add a place for a tether for a Kayak Kit selfie stick. If you had this opened up all the way for your aerial shot, it's not ideal to have that much line coming down the selfie stick and then clipping onto your deck lines of your boat. It's just not a good idea. So being able to tether the selfie stick lower would be awesome. I would make the selfie stick a little thicker if possible, if it's still invisible. This has a lot of sway. The image stabilization on the camera is incredible, but I found that there was a little sway on there when I took this out, and it's because the camera itself is heavy. So I would just make it a little thicker to handle that weight on a boat. Kayaking, there's a lot of dynamic movement that's constant. So yeah, I would certainly account for that. The way that it opens and closes, perfect. I've had this by salt water. It hasn't rusted yet. I do wash it with clear, clean, fresh water just in case. Maybe the other little thing that I would do is make this a little softer, like this yikes. Like the selfie stick. Now this, after a while, could degrade and little pieces of foam can start floating in whatever water that you're in, which is very unhealthy for the environment. So maybe something that wouldn't hold up longer over time, but just a little bit more cushion. Maybe rubberizing it instead, like that's on the old dive case I was talking about before. But that's pretty much it, you know. I wouldn't change too much, just those little things. I'm still gonna change it. Okay, next. Fog strips. Guys, Insta360, please get on top of your fog strips. I don't know where to find replacement ones. I've looked on the website numerous times and cannot find them. Please, if you know of any way to get the perfect size for the kit, or for this invisible dive case, please let me know. Today, I went out on the water. I finally remember them because I've forgotten them in the past, and that was a nightmare. I literally had to staple these together in order to fit, because I cannot find fog strips that fit the new dive case. So for my kayak kit, I would get ones that are reusable, and I would offer like a pack of 50 of them, so for 25 uses. With that being said, condensation. Now, going back to the case a little bit, if there's a way of distributing the heat better or lessening heat distribution somehow, or spreading out heat distribution, that would be amazing. As far as the camera itself is concerned, what did I do with it? Black attracts heat. I wonder if it would be better if the Insta360 was white or a lighter color. Would it attract as much heat from the outside? The reason why I'm saying the heat absorption is because sometimes this is out for a while, and you're not just going straight from an air-conditioned room into your boat. So if there was just a way of just making it less hot so it doesn't shut off on you, maybe even making a case for it that you could put like a little ice pack in it to keep it cool until you're ready to get on the water. So yeah, other little things that I would include in the kayak kit would be a dry bag, an Insta360 dry bag, like a secure one that will keep things dry. Most of the time, we would be putting accessories into our boats, into our hatches. We need a dry place to keep our memory cards in here. Extra batteries, I think I said that too. Little mounts, I keep this in here as well, just in case I forget, because it's happened to me before where I did forget this part and I had to do other things in order to use my camera on the water. So I have this specific dry bag to keep this in there, and also a place to keep your little wrench. This I'll talk about in a second for some tips and tricks. Take this with you though, that's the point. Moving on. So yeah, a dry bag. I would include a microfiber cloth potentially, but one that sheds sand easy, so you don't scratch it if you need to use, or scratch your lens or your camera if you need to use this. Then maybe something to keep water off of the lens here to make it shed better, like a Rain-X type of a product if that's possible. Also, something that you can use to clean it on the outside or the inside, even like an alcohol wipe. I don't know what you can do to clean this if you need to get a smudge off. I think I've read in the directions to not use like any kind of soap or cleaner, but sometimes you have to. What I've done is use the microfiber cloth to do that. So in short, a dry bag and a microfiber cloth. I think that's it. All right, so let me just move on to some tips and tricks. Okay, so I did mention before that it was hard to find the correct sized fog strips. If you need to get the ones on Amazon that I found and they do come too short, you can staple them together and it's fine, it works. It does not fall out. What I did is I measured it up to the original fog strips that came with the case, and I measured it up together. Even if it's not as thick, it's still the same length and it will stay in your current invisible dive case. When you go on the water, Make sure you keep this wrench with you at all times. It's really, really helpful if you want to change your mount or if you need to open up the case to change batteries or an SD card. This is great because your hands are going to be slippery or even cold in the colder weather. I mean, it's coming up for me personally soon. So having this will eliminate a lot of frustration. You could use a really thin cordage for your tether lines. And another tip is the fishing line does work. So you can use fishing line. Now, the thing with fishing line is that it's a little flouncy if it's not like a heavier pound, obviously. So it can get sort of in your shots if you're not careful. Just watch the length of your tethers. Watch where you put your tethers on your boat. Try not to have it on the outsides, on the rails of your boat, so kayak paddles, feet and hands and fingers can get caught. I tend to put it behind, and then I tend to wrap it around this way, behind, and then try to make it as short as possible to the deck lines. This is also helpful if I have to kick off my suction cup mount and it's in the water. It's not far out from the boat where it can be very dangerous with lines floating in the water. Keep it close to you. If you are a casual kayaker and sea kayaking is not exactly what you're doing, then all of these safety things aren't really much of a concern. I'm just thinking of this, and whoever watches this could also be safer on the water, and maybe Insta360 will also understand why this is all very important, especially to me. And for other kayakers too. All right, moving on. Oh yeah, use a smaller carabiner. Very helpful. Watch the position of the sun. Keep an eye on the water droplets on the case. You can use a microfiber cloth. This is awesome. Just be careful that you shake out any potential salt or sand, and just keep an eye on it so you don't scratch as you're cleaning. Make sure that you are soaking your case when you get home. If you're especially in salt water, soak the case. I can't tell you how many times I've actually soaked it for about 15 to 20 minutes and there was sediment on the bottom of the bowl that I use for it. So it's really important. Please do that. I think that's that. If you are interested in sea kayaking and you're not a sea kayaker, if you watch my first video, my part 1 video, I give you some insight on how you can start sea kayaking safely and where you can get training and assistance. I am also very happy to direct you to maybe a local outfitter where you are. I can do a little research for you if you want some help. I'm happy to do that free of charge. Just like and subscribe to my channel. That is the only thing that I ask. And even if you don't need my help, do the same thing too. So I think that's it. Get on the water, guys. Please keep our oceans clean and safe for the marine wildlife that is in there that has no bearing on what we put into the water. So we gotta like help those guys out, you know? So yeah, anyways, enjoy, get on the water, and I'll see you guys later.